when it comes to the yoga practice, it's this thing, this modality that's highly regarded, and there's so much history behind it, and it's so powerful that you know that you belong, but also you feel like you have to kind of become worthy of it. I think that's how at least I felt. I feel like I had to become worthy of the practice, but what I discovered is that I just needed to become worthy for myself, and I learned that through the practice.
So would you say you were drawn to the practice of yoga?
Well, I don't know if I would say that I was drawn into it. I feel like I plummeted into it because it was just a really, dark place in my life, you could say. I was a freshman over at UCSB, and I was doing terribly in school. My mental health was a mess, and I didn't have the support of my family because I was so far away. There were just so many things that felt like stacked against me in that moment. And after I dropped out, I remember enrolling into a yoga class as an elective at the city college, just because I knew that I needed something to help me manage my stress because I was taking on too much. And that's how I essentially stumbled across it. I never thought that I would teach. I just was like, this is cool, this feels good in my body. And ever since then, yoga and I have been like this.
Tell me about your first experience in a yoga class.
My first yoga class that was in a studio was intimidating, I guess, because you walk into a room or I walked into the room and it was full of all of these people who essentially didn't look like me, a bunch of people who've been practicing yoga for who knows how long in their Lululemon, yoga gear with their mats and their towels and all of the equipment that they needed. And my first instinct was like, oh shit, I don't fit in. Okay, I gotta fit in. I gotta get the gear. I gotta get good at this. Because I was raised an athlete. So my mindset is like, okay, become so good that you can't be denied to be in a space. So that was my initial instinct when I approached my practice. But I think that something that really changed and shifted my perspective was actually my first yoga retreat that I went on with my mom. And there was a Black teacher, and seeing her take up space and how powerful she was leading us through the practice inspired me. And I was like, wow, I definitely could do something like this. I definitely can step into a different role with yoga and become a teacher.
So once you start practicing yoga on a normal basis, did you know that you wanted to become an instructor?
I actually never wanted to be a yoga instructor in the beginning of my journey. Even something I forgot to mention about my first class is that I had really, really, really bad social anxiety. I didn't want to leave my dorm to go to my classes, and essentially that's why I dropped out. So my confidence was not, it was not in the chat, it was missing. So I think that just being a student really helped me, and being able to see a few examples of other people who look like me taking up space in the yoga community. But what it really boiled down to was through the practice, through repetition, showing up to my mat over and over again, I started to, once again, get out of my head and feel more in my body, started to build confidence. It helped my mental health in ways that I can't really explain. I walked in feeling one way, feeling anxious, depressed, just not fully okay, and then leaving my mat in a completely renewed state. Every single time, even till this day, every single time as a teacher, arriving from whatever day I'm having, I could be having the worst day, and then I teach a class or I take a class, and then it's almost like a clean slate, or even just being able to zoom out of my situation and have a different like feeling or outlook on it.
So we have discussed your social anxiety, and I believe the word you used to describe it was crippling, correct?
That is the word, yes.
How would you say your practice, your journey, your wellness journey helped you get through your social anxiety?
Yeah, I think that social anxiety is like it's kind of like being stuck in a loop, and the longer that you're stuck in this loop, the further down you start to spiral until you're in a space that feels impossible to get out of. And I think that what yoga did is it helped me to kind of interrupt that cycle that I was trapped in. And like bit by bit, it started to kind of pull me back into reality. Because I feel like social anxiety is just one of those things where it's not real, right? It's like a narrative that you tell yourself and it replays in your mind over and over again to where it drains your confidence, it drains like your sense of self, and it makes you feel like you're not enough. And yoga kind of just like laid those bricks for me to create a solid foundation to be sure of myself, and not afraid to show up in any room, really.
So tell me a little about your yoga training to become an instructor.
Yeah, I would say the first training that I did was very much, I was at a corporate yoga studio, so we just kind of learned the postures and how to get people into things safely. We just kind of learned the motions. And while that was good, deep down, I kind of felt like something was missing. So at this point, I was already teaching for I think about a year, maybe 2 years. And I knew that I was not grasping the full picture of what yoga was. And so I decided to enroll in a second training, which is 300-hour. And I really wanted to do it with teachers who were from India. That was really important to me because I knew that what I had learned, the type of yoga I had learned, was very displaced from the roots of yoga. And so through my second training is where I really got in touch with the spirituality of it all. And I got to know that it's so much deeper than just what we experience on a physical level. It's almost like things started to like make sense, like things that I had experienced internally started to click, and I could put words to them, and I could help people, like guide people through them more seamlessly.
So, what would you say is the hardest pose to guide someone in and out of?
For me personally, it's meditation, which is not technically a pose. There is a pose that you can enter meditation in, but so the entire yoga, the entire physical asana, we call the postures asana. The entire point of them is to be able to sit still in meditation. That is why you practice, so that you can get into a seat and sit still. But nobody does that, right? Like, when's the last time you went to a yoga class and you did a meditation after the way that it was supposed to be traditionally? Never, or maybe rarely. So that's the most difficult for me. What I observe a lot of time in my students is the most difficult pose is Shavasana. Because a lot of people, and this was me, can't get out of their heads. Not for 1 minute, 2 minutes, let alone 5 minutes, 10 minutes for Shavasana. So I think that is a challenging one.
How important is it for an instructor to control the space they're in?
It's everything, and it's also like nothing at the same time, because if you take it too seriously, what's the word? You constrict it. And I'm so guilty of that. I'm a control freak, so it's hard for me to loosen my grip on the space and just let things flow naturally. But it is so important, and at the same time, I'm always reminding myself to just let others also hold the space as well.
And a follow up to that is what is meant by the term holding space?
Holding space is I would say it's a responsibility. It's the way that you show up, but it's also the way that you allow something to move through you. Because essentially, like you're holding a container, and everyone else's energy is also taking up that space. So it's almost like setting a mold and allowing what's within to expand, allowing others to expand. Like it's not about me. It's about the space, and I'm just holding it.
Okay, so at the risk of sounding corny, is it safe to say that you're a space holder?
Yeah, I guess you could say that. Space holder, facilitator, instructor.
Well, that's the end of my documentary.
Yay. Thank you for having me.